Every day, science pushes the boundaries of discovery, controversy, and ethics. A surge of breakthrough treatments based on altering our genetic code solicits an important question: who owns our genes? A gene is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. Genes, which are made up of DNA, act as instructions to make molecules called proteins. In humans, genes vary in size from a few hundred DNA bases to more than 2 million bases. Every person has 2 copies of each gene, one inherited from each parent. Most genes are the same in all people, but a small number of genes, less than 1% of the total, are slightly different between people. These small differences contribute to each person's unique physical features. In 1990, a group of scientists set out to learn more about what makes us, us. Through a project called the Human Genome Project, our 3 billion gene sequences were mapped, paired, and studied. Astonishingly enough, the entire project was completed in 13 short years and wrapped up in the spring of 2003. The director of the project noted, "It's a history book, a narrative of the journey of our species through time. It's a shot manual with incredibly detailed blueprint for building every human cell. It's a transformative textbook of medicine, with insights that will give healthcare providers immense new powers to treat, prevent, and cure disease." Little did he know that this power would incite much controversy over the rights to our very own blueprint. A right to ownership of an idea, invention, or process can be claimed through a legal process that is enforced via patent. In the United States, this patent grants a right of property to an inventor for a 20-year period. In the language of the statute of the grant itself, a patent will impose the right to exclude others from making, using, offering for sale, or selling the invention in the United States. Machines, new or useful processes, articles of manufacture, compositions of matter, ornamental designs, and asexually reproduced plants may be patented under U.S. law. However, laws of nature, natural phenomena, and abstract ideas cannot be patented. This is what makes gene patenting so controversial, as genes are naturally occurring, not man-made. The question of whether discovering a gene is enough to warrant the ability to claim an invention has been highly debated.
So what's the big deal? Why are we even talking about patents in healthcare? Well, let's take a second to evaluate a huge pharmaceutical company and a very important treatment. Pfizer developed Lipitor, a drug that was proven to lower bad cholesterol. Immediately after the patent expired in 2010, sales dropped drastically. This is a huge deal for pharmaceutical companies because of the steep costs and massive time it takes to produce a drug. About 10 years of a drug's patent is wasted during development. In the case of Pfizer, the patent helped to protect their investment so that they had time to recoup the money that was invested while developing the drug. After the patent expired, other companies were able to simply use Pfizer's formula and methods, foregoing the huge cost of research and production, but still benefiting from the profit. Myriad Genetics Incorporated faced a similar struggle in 2013 in their legal battle against the Association for Molecular Pathology. After discovering a link between certain gene mutations and breast and ovarian cancer, Myriad developed a medical test to detect such mutations. Due to the patent that Myriad acquired for the BRCA genes, Myriad was the only place in the United States to perform this diagnostic testing at a price of $3,340. Along with doctors and patients, the Association for Molecular Pathology sued Myriad, arguing that genes were a part of nature and could not be patented, and that patents would restrict scientific progress. In the end, the court ruled that naturally occurring DNA could not be patented. Complementary DNA, however, is able to be patented because it is not naturally occurring. The senior staff attorney agreed that Myriad did not invent the BRCA genes and should not control them. Because of this ruling, patients will have greater access to genetic testing, and scientists can engage in research on the genes without fear of being sued. This ruling still stands today. Like all great court cases, there is still controversy around who really should own human genes. One extreme is the case that human genes would be fully patentable. For companies, this is good news for the monetary returns on their investments. They would not only be able to recoup the money spent on research, development, and distribution of gene-specific therapy, but they would make an enormous return because of patent law. Rights to genes and gene alterations may also spark innovation and progression. Companies trying to enter a similar market will have to create a different method that could possibly result in a more effective treatment. Critics argue against this scenario, warning that patenting genes will hinder research and make treatments impossible to access for patients. Still yet is the ever-pressing ethical argument that our very own genetic makeup would be under ownership and control of somebody other than ourselves.
On the flip side of the controversy, protecting genes and making them 100% unpatentable would preserve our nature-born rights to our genes. Human DNA is very distinct even from other animals. As part of our inalienable heritage, is it right for someone else to have ownership of our genetic codes? Opponents of gene patenting suggest that refusing to allow companies to patent genes will actually cause the research and market to flourish. Others, however, caution that the compromise of competition and revenue would put a huge strain on pharmaceutical companies, which would halt any type of progression in gene research. These speculations are hard to quantify, and further analysis must be done to investigate these claims. But what if we meet somewhere in the middle? Well, that's where the ruling on Myriad just about left us. Currently, only synthetic genes are granted patent. This helps to clarify the gray area that comes about when we try to fit a naturally occurring phenomenon into the legal definition of patent. Because it is created and manufactured, a synthetic genome fits the definition of a design patent. This then invigorates the drive for companies to research and develop unique genomes, while still making this market accessible to small companies. Everyone benefits in this scenario because the more hands dipped in research, the more likely it is for the multitude of research to yield better results. There are still some pretty steep disadvantages we have to consider. Genes evolve, and there's always a possibility of a gene evolving so that it matches a pre-existing synthetic sequence. Gene research might also promote the intentional use and abuse of transgenetic technology. Finally, research may still be hindered over technicality in patent law. So, what do others think about this whole gene ordeal? Well, we took a survey of our peers to find out. It turns out that people either weren't sure about genes and patenting, or they were very against our nature-occurring genes being patented. When asked about artificial genes, students seemed okay with ideas of being able to legally own a synthetic genetic code. As for our group, we are on board with the Supreme Court's ruling. Synthetic genes should be allowed to be patented.
Now it's time for your voice to be heard. Who owns your genes?